So, if you're out there trying to land a tech job in this new AI economy, you've probably noticed that something is, well, broken. The old playbook, just firing off resumes, it just doesn't work anymore. In this explainer, we're going to dig into why that is and show you a brand new, way more powerful way to prove you've got the skills to actually get hired.
And this right here is the core idea. I'm going to be blunt. If you are still just attaching a PDF resume to your job applications, you are wasting your time. Seriously. The whole system of trust that resumes were built on, it's gone. Employers are now desperate for a new way to see who can actually do the job. Proof is the only thing that matters anymore.
And look, this isn't just a hunch. It's a cold, hard fact. We're in the middle of what some people are calling the junior wipeout. To put that in perspective, in the UK, graduate tech roles dropped by a staggering 46%. Companies just aren't willing to pay for your learning curve anymore. They need people who can hit the ground running on day one.
And here's why it's gotten so impossible. The systems that companies use, the applicant tracking systems, have turned into a total black hole. I mean, with AI that can generate a perfect resume and cover letter in seconds, how can a recruiter possibly know who's for real? Your beautifully designed PDF, it's just one of 250 others, and the odds of a human ever seeing it are, frankly, tiny.
So, what's the move? How do you bypass this broken system? You do it with something called Agentic Proof of Work. That means you build and you deploy a real, functioning AI agent. And as you can see from this iceberg diagram, a real agent is a deeply complex system. It is so much more than just a pretty chat window on top of an LLM. Building one is undeniable, verifiable proof that you know your stuff.
Okay, so what is an agent really? What's under the hood? Well, no matter how complicated they get, they're all built on these four core parts. First, you've got the LLM. That's the brain. Think Claude or Gemini. Then you've got the code, which is all the logic. You've got tools, which are things like APIs that let the agent actually do stuff in the real world. And finally, you have memory, so it can have a real conversation and remember things about you.
Now this is how you really stand out from the crowd. Anybody can make a basic tool call where you just let the LLM decide when to do something. That's expected. But the pro move is using something called hooks. Think of a hook as a little tripwire that you, the developer, put in the code. It lets you decide exactly when something critical happens, like forcing the agent to save a user's preference to memory. This shows a way deeper grasp of system design, and trust me, it's the kind of thing that absolutely wows interviewers.
So where do you start building? You start in your own local lab, a Jupyter notebook. This is such a critical first step because it lets you build and test each little piece, the LLM call, the web search tool, the memory function, one at a time in these small, manageable chunks. It's way, way more efficient and cheaper than trying to run the entire system every time you make one tiny change. So what's in your toolkit? What are the actual services you'd use to build something professional? Well, you'd pick a major cloud provider like AWS or Google Cloud. You'd choose a powerful model like Anthropic's Claude through Amazon Bedrock or Gemini through Vertex AI. You'd use a framework like Strands or LangGraph to structure everything. And then for things like web search and memory, you can plug in services like DuckDuckGo and the managed memory tools from your cloud provider. All right, this diagram might look a little technical, but the idea behind how an agent thinks is actually super simple. It's called the REACT framework, which is short for reason and act. Here's how it works. The user says something. The agent reasons about what it needs to figure out. Then it acts by calling a tool like a web search. It gets the search results back and uses that new information to give you its final, smarter answer. That's it.
Memory is really the magic ingredient that makes an agent feel smart. And it works kind of like our brains do. First, the agent keeps track of the current chat and a short-term memory. But then, there's this other process happening in the background that reads that conversation and pulls out the important stuff, like, oh, the user likes window seats, and saves that to a long-term memory. That's how it can remember what you like, even if you come back a week later. Okay, so you've built this amazing thing in your notebook. You've perfected it. Now what? You can't just leave it running on your laptop, right? The final step is deployment. You package up your code and you send it off to live in a cloud runtime, like AWS Bedrock Agent Core or Google's Vertex AI Agent Engine. Think of it as a home for your agent on the internet that takes care of all the boring stuff like scaling and servers for you.
And boom, just like that, you've done it. Your agent isn't just a folder of Python files on your computer anymore. It is a live, functioning, and, here's the most important part, a totally verifiable application running on the cloud. Anyone in the world with a link can now talk to it and see your skills in action.
Okay, let's do a quick flyby of the whole journey. Step 1, you build your pieces in a notebook. Step 2, you install the packages you need. Step 3, you connect to the cloud. Step 4, the fun part, where you design the agent's tools and memory. Step 5, you turn that notebook into real deployable code. And finally, Step 6, you launch it to the world with a simple command.
And this right here is the whole point. You've moved beyond just following a tutorial or having another project sitting dead on your GitHub. You have created a piece of live functional infrastructure. It is verifiable. It is undeniable. It is proof.
But so what? I mean, really, why does a hiring manager who is drowning in emails and resumes actually stop and care that you went to all this trouble? What problem are you actually solving for them?
It comes down to one thing: money. Cold, hard cash. Making a bad hire is incredibly expensive for a company. Even a conservative estimate puts the cost at 20 grand. A really bad one? That can be over $150,000 in wasted salary, training, everything. Your live agent? It's a de-risking machine. It proves you can deliver, and that dramatically lowers their financial risk in hiring you.
And this stat is just wild. It shows you exactly what's broken. A whopping 85% of companies say they want to hire people based on skills, not just a fancy degree. But almost none of them actually do it. And why not? Because verifying those skills is just too hard. Your agent portfolio, it's the verification tool that they've been desperately waiting for. So when you send a recruiter a link to your live agent, think about everything you're proving without saying a word. It shows you get core AI concepts. It shows you can work with APIs. It shows you understand the cloud. It shows you can write code that actually works. And most of all, it shows you can execute. You've stopped talking and you've started shipping. So look, it all boils down to this. A resume, it just tells a story. It's a bunch of claims about what you say you can do. It's a promise. But an agentic portfolio, that's cold, hard proof. So the only question you need to ask yourself is, what will your agent prove?